The land 1, 2 million years ago was untamed and unforgiving, a place where every breath of life come with danger. Towering trees farmed endless canopies of darknesses, rivers roared with the power of storms, and predators lurked behind every shadow. Humans were fragile wanderers in this brutal world, struggling to hold their place against the colossal beasts that roamed the earth. Tribes lived in fear of saber-toothed cats, mammoths that crushed the ground as they walked, and packs of wolves that could strip flesh from bone in minute. In one of these tribes, near a cave carved into the side of a steep cliff, lived a girl named Lyra. Unlike others who trembled at the sound of growls in the night, she carried a spark of boldness in her heart. The tribe often whispered that she was touched by fate, that her eyes held the light of the stars themselves. She was graceful, quick in thought, and strikingly beautiful, though her beauty meant little in a world where survival was the only currency. Her courage, however, set her apart, and that courage led her into the deepest parts of the forest one misty dawn. That morning the forest felt alive in a way she had never experienced before. A deep rumble shook the ground beneath her feet, and through the shifting fog, she saw what she thought was a moving mountain. Her heart pounded as a massive figure stepped forward, emerging from behind the trees. It was a creature unlike any she had seen, an enormous atmosphere glistened in the dim light, muscles rippling with unimaginable strength. He was a living fortress of flesh and bone, towering above the treetops, his eyes glowing with intelligence. Her first instinct was to run, but something deeper kept her rooted to the ground. The beast, known among the elders only in whispers as Kong, the king of the jungle, did not talk. He studied her, his massive chest rising and falling with a rhythm that shook the leaves. For a breathless moment, their eyes met. She lowered her spear slowly, letting it fall against her side, and Kong responded with a low, resonant sound, not of threat but of recognition. That moment carved the beginning of a bond that would change both of their fates. Lyra returned again and again to the forest in the days that followed. Curiosity drew her back, but courage kept her turn. Kong was always near, watching, sometimes chasing away saber-tooths or scattering small predators with arrows that echoed through the valleys. As she began to understand his movements, his gestures, and even his moods. No words passed between them, an unspoken understanding grew. As she realized he was not a monster to fear but a guardian of the wild. Yet while this bond was forming, a shadow grew over the valley. A pack of deer wolves had descended from the mountains. Larger, stronger, and more coordinated than common wolves, they were demons of hunger and fury. Their glowing eyes pierced the darknesses at night, their howls spread terror through the air, and their attacks grew bolder each day. The tribe was already small and fragile, they could not withstand an organized enemy of such power. One night the wolves struck with terrifying force. Their snarls ripped through the silence as they crashed into the tribe's defenses. Men with spears tried to hold them back, but the wolves were relentless, their fangs tearing through wood and flesh alike. Screams filled the air as firelight flickered against the chaos. Families clutched each other, certain that death had finally come for them. Lyra, her heart pounding, knew there was only one chance. As she broke away from the panic and raced into the trees, striking a hollow log with all her strength. The booming echo rolled through the forest like a signal. The ground soon trembled, branches snapped, and from the shadows emerged Kong, his massive form illuminated by the flames of the burning torches. The wolves turned their attention to him instantly, their alpha with amber eyes stepping forward to challenge the giant. The tribe froze in awe and terror, watching a battle begin that would dictate not only their survival but the destiny of the girl who had dared to befriend the king of the jungle. The first clash between Kong and the wolves shook the very ground. The alpha, its amber eyes gleaming like fire, lunged with lightning speed, jaws wide and teeth flashing. Kong swung his massive arm, and the sound of impact was like a tree cracking in a storm. Two wolves were hurled through the air, Their bodies slamming against rocks, but for each one struck down, more appeared from the shadows. The pack finned out with deadly precision, circling him, their growls merging into a chorus of hunger and rush. Kong roared, a thunderous sound that made even the bravest warriors of the tribe cover their ears. His massive fists pounded the earth, sending shockwaves of warning, but the wolves were fearless. They darted in, snapping at his legs, tearing at his fur, biting into his flesh. Kong lifted one wolf and crushed it with a single squeeze of his hand, but blood trickled down his arm where another had bitten deep. His pain only fueled his fury, yet he could not be everywhere at once. Lyra rushed to the caves where the children and elders had dealt in terror. As each seized torches, thrusting them into the hands of those brave enough to fight, and together they formed a wall of fire. Wolves that tried to flank Kong met burning brands thrust into their faces, blowing the giant precious moments. As each knew, however, that Kong could not win alone. These were not ordinary predators but an army commanded by one will, the Alpha. Through the smoke and fire, SH said. The great wolf stood back, its amber eyes never leaving Kong, directing the pack with subtle growls and movements. Every lunge, every retreat, every coordinated strike flowed from its command. Lyra's chest tightened as realization struck her. If the Alpha fell, the pack would break. SH clutched a spear, her palms sweating, and moved through the chaos. The wolf noticed her too late. With a growl, it charged, faster than SH could react, its jaws aimed at her throat. SH froze, but then a colossal shadow loomed. Kong's hand swept down, seizing the Alpha mid-lip and slamming it into the ground with bone-shattering force. The beast writhed, twisting its powerful jaws into Kong's arm, sinking teeth deep into muscle. Kong bellowed in agony, his roar echoing across the valley like a storm. Summoning every ounce of courage, Lyra darted forward. Her legs felt like stone, but SH forced them on. SH raised her spear high, the firelight gleaming on its sharpened tip, and drove it into the Alpha's side. The beast howled, a sound of both fury and fear. It thrashed violently, nearly tearing each leaf free, but Kong tightened his grip, his muscles trembling with effort. He lifted the wolf and slammed it down once more, the ground shaking beneath the impact. Together, girl and giant brought the Alpha crashing toward its end. The moment its body went limp, the pack faltered. Confusion spread among them, their snarls turning to whimpers. Without their leader, their unity shattered. Some turned and bolted into the forest, their shadows melting into the night. Others lingered for a heartbeat, uncertain, until Kong released one final roar that thundered through the valley. The sound was so powerful it sent birds scattering from the treetops and drove the last of the wolves fleeing into the darknesses. Silence followed, broken only by the crackling of burning torches and the heavy breaths of survivors. The tribe emerged slowly from hiding, their eyes wide with awe. They had witnessed something beyond belief, a girl and a beast king fighting side by side to protect them. Kong stood wounded but unbroken, his chest heaving, his gaze fixed on the girl who had dared to fight at his side. Lyra, still gripping her bloodstained spear, felt her knees weaken, but SH held herself tall. In that moment, beneath the pale light of the moon, the valley was forever changed. The people no longer saw Kong as a monster of the wild but as a protector. And Lyra understood that this bond, this unlikely alliance, was only the beginning of a greater destiny waiting to unfold. The days after the battle were filled with both relief and unease. The wolves were gone, their howls no longer haunting the night, but the tribe knew the cost of survival. Many were wounded, and Kong himself bore deep gashes across his arms and chest. Yet he stood guard over the valley, refusing to rest fully, his eyes constantly scanning the horizon. His presence alone brought comfort to the people, but also a silent reminder that danger was never far away. Lyra, meanwhile, found herself changed. Honest just a simple girl from the tribe, SH now carried the memory of standing beside Kong against the Alpha Wolf. The elders whispered about her bravery, calling her a chosen one of the spirits, while others simply watched her without. As each felt the weight of their expectations but also the fire of determination inside her. As each would not let fear or doubt hold her back again. As the tribe rebuilt, scouts returned with troubling news. More predators were moving into the region, emboldened by the absence of the wolves. Strange footprints were found near the riverbanks, clawed marks larger than any had seen before. Some believed another beast was rising, one even deadlier than the wolves. Whispers of doom spread, and units turned into panic. The people turned to Kong, but even he could not fight forever. His wounds were slow to heal, and his great body carried the burden of too many battles. One evening, as the firelight flickered and shadows danced across the valley, Lyra approached Kong. As she carried fresh herbs, pressing them gently against his wounds. The giant watched her silently, his eyes reflecting both pain and trust. As she spoke softly, promising that they would face whatever came next together. Though he could not answer in words, Kong's rambling breath and steady gaze told her he understood. They were no longer just allies in battle, they were bound by something deeper. The next challenge arrived sooner than anyone expected. On the third night, the earth trembled under the weight of a new predator. A monstrous saber-toothed cat emerged from the forest, its fangs gleaming in the moonlight, its roar shaking the valley. It had smelled blood, weaknesses, and opportunity. The tribe panicked, children crying out as the beast prowled closer. Kong rose slowly, his muscles straining against pain, and bellowed a warning roar that split the night. The saber-tooth lunged with terrifying speed. Kong swung his fist, but the cat dodged, slashing across his shoulder with claws like knives. Blood sprayed across the dirt. The people screamed, watching their guardian falter. But Lyra did not retreat. As she seized a torch, sprinting into the open, and thrust the flames toward the predator. It snarled, recoiling, but its eyes locked onto her. In that instant, the beast turned from Kong and charged at her instead. Her heart pounded like a drum, but as she stood her ground. The cat's leap seemed unstoppable, but then a massive hand intercepted its path. Kong caught the beast midair, slamming it into the earth with a roar of fury. The impact cracked the ground, yet the saber-tooth twisted free. Its jaws snapping dangerously close to his throat. The two titans clashed in a storm of roars, claws, and fists, while the tribe watched in helpless awe. Lyra saw her chance. As she called for the warriors to light more torches, creating a ring of fire around the battle. The cat grew restless, its movements faltering as the flames rose higher. With every strike, Kong pressed harder, until finally he pinned the beast against the ground. His roar echoed like thunder as he snapped its strength with a crushing blow. The saber-tooth lay still, defeated beneath the weight of the beast king's fury. When silence returned, the valley was filled not with fear but with triumph. The tribe erupted in cheers, raising their torches high. Lyra stood beside Kong, her chest heaving, her spirit unbroken. As she looked up at him, and in his eyes, as is a gratitude and pride. Together, they had faced not one but two horrors of the ancient world, and together, they had prevailed. That night, the valley became more than just a home. It became a sanctuary, protected by both human courage and a giant strength. The people no longer saw themselves as prey to the wildernesses but as partners with the mighty Kong, their destiny tied forever to his. And Lyra, once an ordinary girl, now carried the legend of a warrior whose bond with a beast had changed the fate of her people. From that day onward, whenever the moon rose high over the valley, the stories of beauty and the beast king spread across the land, tales of defiance, survival, and a bond strong enough to defeat the terrors of a world 1-2 million years old.